The sirens died exactly 3 seconds before the floor gave way. Callista. Rowan's boots scraped concrete as the training tower shuddered, spraying dust across her visor. Evac alarms strangled in stillborn silence. Her lungs filled with grit, eyes flicking for exits that no longer existed, while 20 raw recruits panicked in the dark behind her. The tower, today's simulated earthquake ruin, had just become too real. She tasted copper, heard the micro-fractures groan through steel beams like animals chewing their own legs off. One more tremor and they would drop 6 stories into rubble. She had 10 heartbeats to turn the chaos around or watch the next generation of responders die before they ever reached a real disaster. Asterisk. Drop of if you've ever been underestimated. Asterisk. Callista inhaled, slow as a sniper's half-pull, because once a sniper was her father. She pictured his calm hands settling over hers at 12, guiding her breath to the rhythm of a distant metronome. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 4, act. Even here, far from any rifle, that ritual steadied her pulse. Helmets on tight. Come. Check. Form on me, she ordered. Voice gravel, rough yet even, the hidden steel beneath her slender frame never more apparent. She was officially a logistics coordinator, a so-called nobody's girl, who shuffled medical crates and calibrated drones until someone finally looked past the quiet to see the uncanny accuracy of every measurement she touched. No one had yet. The tower listed east. Dust fog squatted between dim emergency bulbs, visibility 4 meters at best. Asterisk. Caster 1 stairwell compromised. Delta 2 blocked. Asterisk. Callista's mind mapped the lattice of interior support like a live schematic. If she breached the outer wall at section Echo 3, wind shear from the bay would stabilize the shell just long enough. If she moved now, she slung her kit bag forward. Inside, standard issue hydraulic spreaders nestled beside unauthorized tools she'd fabricated in off hours, a carbon fiber pry bar with tungsten teeth, a folding mini ram shaved to half weight. She was supposed to be sorting inventory when she built them. Nobody asked why she required a welding torch. The recruits clustered 15 men, 5 women, all larger than her, but their eyes hunted leadership and landed, reluctantly, on Callista. She felt the sting of that doubt, a familiar burn cured only by results. Show, don't tell. Her mother, once an elite combat medic, had whispered over field dressings. Competence is the only language the arrogant learn. Rowan, aren't we waiting for Captain Ortiz? A tall trainee demanded, voice cracking. Protocol says. Protocol hasn't met gravity, Callista cut in. She thumbed on her helmet. Light, a white lance through gray. We breach Echo 3. Tie off to center beam, lower in 2s. You have 40 seconds. A creak ricocheted, overhead joist snapping. The trainee flinched, but orders followed panic the way rivers followed rain. They obeyed. Callista stepped to Echo 3, tracing her glove across battered drywall until she found the seam. She planted. Her custom pry bar leveraged her weight slender, but every kilogram trained for precision power and exhaled. The wall parted with an obedient gasp. Beyond, fog boiled into open air 6 stories above the compound's helipad. The Pacific spread steel blue, cross-hatched by late morning sun. Wind knifed through the new aperture, rattling the tower but sucking dust out like a vacuum. Visibility cleared. Hope inhaled. She anchored the rope to the central column, tested. Load twice, first pair go. Droppa, if you've ever trusted your gut when the manual failed you. 2 recruits clipped in, descended. The rope hummed. Callista calculated shear stress, margin slim but viable. She rotated the line next. Pair. Each breath synchronized with their descent, her father's metronome ticking steady. 4th pair on deck when the floor buckled behind her, a slab tilting into nothing. She spun, catching a recruit by harness straps as he teetered over the void. Muscles screamed, Her frame bowed but held. Dust engulfed them. Coughs shredded the air. She heaved him toward the edge, clipped him in, slapped his buckle. "You're clear. Go." The trainee's eyes pooled, awe and terror. He went. Callista's cum crackled. "Control to Echo Team status?" Seismic sensor flagged catastrophic structural failure. "Echo Team under self-exfil," she replied, voice calm. 14 personnel groundside. 6 remain. "Negative. Stand by for rescue drone." By the time it launches, we're ghosts. She cut the channel. Rules fermented slowly. Collapse brewed faster. The rope tremored weight on line. Wind stretched the breach wider. She fed another pair through. Fibers burning gloves. 5 heartbeats left. The central column fractured with a shotgun crack. The anchor bolt groaned, thread peeling like bone from socket. Callista could almost taste the metal's fatigue. Instinct overtook thought. She unclipped, sprinted to the failing column. Her mini-ram deployed in one flick, piston head locking beneath the upper beam. She cranked hydraulic pressure until veins bulged, torque singing. Steel screamed but held. Column realigned a hair, anchor secured temporarily. She didn't breathe. Asterisk inhale 4, hold 4. Exhale 4. At dot asterisk she clipped remaining 2 recruits to the rope, ignoring her own harness. No time to reset anchor for another load. "Go! But what about you? The tower owes me rent. Move," they rappled. Callista remained alone, weight balanced between failing steel and freedom. She glanced at the rope, anchor at 40%. Sheer capacity. If she followed, line plus her mass would snap. Unacceptable. Find another way. She scanned north wall window 5 meters off. Exterior ledge ran to adjacent fire ladder. If she sprinted diagonal across sagging floor, dove through window frame before it collapsed, variables danced like code compiling. Floor ledger sagged anew. Callista set her boots. Crouched, inciting incident. She bolted, panels cracking underfoot. The window's tempered glass reflected a slender ghost sprinting. Then she threw the pry bar like a javelin. Glass exploded outward. She dove, arms folded, body a projectile. Air whooshed icy. Shards rained. She tucked, rotated, slammed into the ledge belly first, elbows hooking rusted rail. The tower behind her sighed along. Final exhale and collapsed in a thunder of concrete. Callista dangled above debris cloud, coughing laugh blooming in her throat. Nobody's girl, still alive. Rescue team swarmed below, eyes raised. Jaws dropped. She climbed down ladder rungs, boots hitting ground. Recruits rushed, helmets off, gratitude tripping tongues. Captain Ortiz strode over, blistered pride in his step. "What the hell was that, Rowan?" "Adaptive protocol," she answered, wiping dust. "Tower integrity real-world tested. Recruits passed. Suggest review of alarm circuit redundancy." Ortiz opened his mouth, then a recruit interjected, voice shaking but clear. "Sir, she saved all of us." Callista met Ortiz's stare, not challenging, just unflinching. Somewhere behind her ribcage, memories of her mother stitching battlefield wounds whispered. Competence is the only language the arrogant learn. Ortiz shut his mouth. Wind carried distant gull cries. Dust settled on sunbeams. The compound skyline looked smaller, humbled. Callista exhaled asterisk, inhale 4, hold 4. Exhale 4, and wondered how long until the next structure tried to bury her secrets. Drop a, if you've ever had to. Prove yourself in a single breath. Asterisk. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow, I have a special story for you. Helicopter rotors shrieked overhead, shredding the dawn haze into twisting ribbons of gold and grit, and Callista. Rowan was already running against the wind. The briefing room door slammed behind her, hinge echo swallowed by the thunder of blades. 20 minutes ago, the collapse drill had made her a quiet legend among the rookies. Now the compound itself bucked under threats more deliberate than shifting concrete. Somewhere across the tarmac, an unmarked cargo chopper was descending without authorization, its side doors bristling with men who wore rescue insignia they hadn't earned. She sprinted past formation lines where half-dressed trainees threw on gear, Ortiz barking orders he barely understood. Callista's lungs burned with dust from the tower, but focus sharpened. Count engines too. Load capacity 8,000 kilos. That meant room for both personnel and pilfered tech. Destination probably open water, a ghost freighter waiting. Beyond radar nets. Asterisk, if they get off ground again, we'll hunt phantoms at sea. Asterisk, the last thing this world needed was black market. Responders selling disaster hardware to the highest bidder. Wind lashed her ponytail. She angled toward the supply hangar, the compound's nerve and its most vulnerable organ. Her badge should have denied her entry. Logistics coordinator. No combat clearance, but the door scanner read the microchip she'd altered months ago. A small crime committed in expectation of a larger one. Inside, fluorescent lights flickered, the din of forklifts now replaced by silence broken only by distant alarms. Racks of trauma packs towered like city blocks. Somewhere in the maze walked the thieves. Callista drew a compact radio from her belt, keyed to a private channel. Echo, lead to dispatch 1 secure perimeter, Bravo and Delta. Unknown hostiles. In Hangar 3, non-lethal force authorized unless lives threatened. The only response was static. Communications jammed. She hissed through teeth. Fine, Rowan. It's you and physics again. She flipped thermals on her visor. Heat blooms flared. 5 bodies, spread in wedge formation, searching crates. Rifles. Slung low-trank rifles, probably. Better optics than compound standard. In the center of the hangar, a 6th figure knelt beside a pallet of prototype drones. Nimble hands detaching tracking beacons, sliding units into padded cases, and beside him a boy, early teens, hair the color of storm clouds, wearing civilian sweats and bare feet. He sat cross-legged on an unopened crate, blanket draped over shoulders. The hangar was cold. The boy didn't shiver. He just watched the thieves with detached curiosity, as though learning shapes through shadow. Callista blinked. She had seen him once, weeks earlier, sleeping in the cafeteria corner, staff whispering, nobody knows his name. They called him the Quiet. He helped mop floors for meals, spoke to no one. Now he was an accidental captive witness to a heist that couldn't afford witnesses. Her chest tightened. Memories of being the unnoticed one resurfaced. Asterisk nobodies. Girl asterisk until competence spoke louder than origin. She still wore the label inside her ribs like a barcode. Asterisk not today. Kid. Asterisk she moved. The first hostile never saw her. Callista vaulted a conveyor belt, drove her carbon fiber pry bar into his collarbone with enough force to stun, but not break. He crumpled. She slid behind stacked medkits as 3 others turned. Contact, West Row. A voice barked. She rolled, seized a trainee's dropped concussion baton. Lightweight polymer, legal on compound, lethal in angles. A shot sizzled past, trank dart embedding in steel. Callista sidestepped, baton whipping up to connect with a gun barrel, deflect, reverse strike to forearm, weapon clattered. She caught it mid-air, flipped safety. 1 breath, 2 targets down. 3rd lifted rifle. Her finger tapped trigger, dart hissed enemy narcotized mid-step. She had 5 seconds before remaining 2 regrouped. Asterisk. Drop a, if you've ever been cornered and still chosen to advance. Asterisk, she spun toward the pallet. The technician there, slender, masked, froze when her visor's glare fell on him. He reached for a sidearm. Callista's pry bar flew from her grip like a thrown spear. It slammed into crate metal, missing his ear by a whisper. But the message landed. Continue and you bleed. The boy with the blanket watched, eyes wide but eerily calm. Callista spoke low. "Come to me." She extended a hand. He slid off the crate, blanket trailing, bare feet silent on concrete. He reached her, fingers brushing her eyes, revealing no fear, only certainty. He carried nothing yet seemed to possess some invisible. "Wait? Name?" she asked. He shrugged, a slow motion, as though the concept tasted foreign. Callista's heart pinched. The boy with no name. Their story title etched itself unseen between them. Muzzle clicks spun her left remaining hostiles. Flanking. She grabbed the boy's shoulder, pivoted him behind. Her free hand found a smoke canister on belt. Pin. Flick. The canister clanged between crates. Birthing plumes. She broke for emergency stairwell, guiding the boy. Footfalls thundered behind, but in smoke, her size became advantage. Small, swift. Through clutter. She ducked under catwalk supports. Ricochets of tranq darts pinged. A side exit loomed, a red door marked Service Corridor B. She shoulder-checked it open into stale darkness, shoved boy through, followed, closed door. Lock jammed from her earlier modifications. She spun the handle a quarter clock. Internal bolt shot, door dead. She exhaled shaky relief. The corridor stretched narrow between reinforced walls, pipes humming overhead, emergency strobes painted crimson intervals. Her pulse matched them. "Are you hurt?" she asked. He shook head. She knelt, lifted blanket edge, no wounds, just dust. She noticed. Fine scars along his wrists, pale lines fading. Her throat tightened again. A tremor rolled. Remote thunder shook ceiling dust, not seismic explosions. The thieves were covering extraction. Callista keyed her radio again despite jam. "Any unit, respond, intruders in Hangar 3 deploying charges." Static. She tossed radio dot. She took the boy's hand. "We're leaving." He squeezed once, a gratitude spoken through skin. They moved, boots echoing. Corridor slanted down to maintenance tunnel, leading to power plant under main compound. She calculated route, through generator rooms to exterior culvert, then perimeter. Fence breach she'd mapped months ago. Halfway down, the lights died. Complete black smothered them. She halted, felt the boy stop instantly. She flicked helmet lamp, nothing. EMP? More sophisticated than she assumed. "Close your eyes," she whispered. Foolish but instinctive. As though darkness obeyed eyelids. In the black, she heard footfalls. Behind, soft, deliberate. Pursuit. She pressed the boy against wall. Whispered, "Count to 5, then crawl forward, hand to wall, I'll follow." She squeezed his shoulder. He squeezed back, trust established faster than conversation. He moved. Callista drew a ceramic utility knife from ankle sheath, untraceable by metal detectors. She waited, breath slowed. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 4. Footfalls neared. She smelled linseed oil gun stock. She listened for breathing there. She slashed outward. Blade kissed fabric, then flesh. A grunt, weapon clattered. She rolled aside, swept blade low, again hamstring sever. Pursuer collapsed. She rose, located. Fallen rifle by touch, removed dart clip, pocketed. Another pair of feet pounded farther back. Too many. She pivoted, sprinted after the boy. Dim glow ahead, blue emergency diode marking generator bay. As they entered, backup power flickered to life, fluorescence humming. Row upon row of turbines churned, guarded by chain link fencing. Callista scanned, no hostiles yet. She led boy along catwalk above turbines. Heat exhaled upward, sweat beaded. She needed to secure an exit. At far wall, service ladder led to vent shaft. That would vent near drone landing pads outside command ridge. She guided boy to ladder base. Climb, slow, steady. He nodded, began ascent. Blanket tucked in belt like makeshift cape. Callista followed. Halfway up, an alarm klaxon blared. Pitch she'd never heard. Reactor coolant critical. Thermal breach imminent. She looked down. Control panel screens below flashed red. Someone had sabotaged coolant valves to bury evidence. Or bury the compound. She felt nausea, a disaster hub about to become a disaster site. If reactors went critical, casualties in thousands across coastal city. Intruders weren't thieves. They were terrorists. A single heartbeat slammed against her ribs before oxygen remembered the way back into her lungs. Callista. Rowan surfaced from darkness gasping, wet concrete pressing her cheek, a metallic tang of blood thick on her tongue. Dim emergency LEDs flickered along the storm-drained tunnel, painting everything in fever dream reds and greens. Somewhere above, the compound burned a muted, booming roar translated through meters of earth like drums beating underwater. *Droppa, if you've ever woken up already running in your mind. She rolled onto her back, vision swimming. The grate overhead was mangled but intact, its bars punched inward from debris. Remember fire, the tower, the boy. She jerked upright. Pain lit along her left arm, where fabric fused to blistered skin. Kid? Her voice cracked off stone. Echoes came back, empty. No sign of the boy with no name. She forced breath into rhythm. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 4. Focus returned enough to register the tunnel's drop toward the sea outfall and the distant gurgle of tidal surges. Smoke leaked through cracks above, dusting the air with plaster snow. She pushed to hands and knees, then feet head swimming but functional. Her ceramic knife was gone, utility belt half shredded, pry bar lost, but badge chip gone from boy's hand? Was he taken? Did he go forward? The uncertainty carved ice down her spine. The only path was forward. Callista staggered deeper into the drain, shoes sloshing through ankle-deep runoff. Lights were intermittent, wired to backup generators she might have saved seconds before. Sabotage triggers fired. Each glow revealed spiderweb fractures in concrete. The blast above had shaken the tunnel. She pictured the entire system collapsing in crush waves if another charge hit. Her watch dust-coated. Tactical read 6:59. Sunrise. She had been unconscious perhaps 3 minutes. Adrenaline still burned, meaning internal bleeding minimal. Good. She wiped blood from eyebrow, stared at crimson finger, then smeared it on wall as directional marker. Habit from search and rescue days. Always leave BREADCRUMBS. She found a discarded flashlight wedged behind a pipe bracket standard. Issue likely lost by maintenance crew months ago. Batteries weak but serviceable. Light speared gloom, unveiling a child-sized footprint in silt ahead, bare toes. The boy was alive, moving toward ocean. But so was someone else. Another set of tracks, larger boots overlapped, then diverged into side maintenance alcove. She slowed, heartbeat drumming. Sound, soft scrape of metal on stone. She killed flashlight, slid along wall, eyes adjusting. Alcove door hung ajar, darkness breathing frozen air. She listened, faint rasping breath inside. Callista edged closer. Tension wired. A shape slumped against valve wheel. Compound technician, she recognized uniform, hands zip-tied. Mouth gagged, eyes pleading. She moved quickly, slicing gag with rusted fragment of pipe she'd pocketed. You safe to move? He shook head, looked down, ankle bent wrong, bone ridge white under skin. Callista knelt, saw that pocket first aid kit bulged from his vest. She tore it open, splinted ankle with broken broom handle lying nearby, wrapped gauze. Each gesture efficient, her mother's legacy in every knot. Boy teen come through? Technician nodded. Pulled by soldier in black, said asset retrieval. They went downstream. Voice a croak, gate codes? She asked. He blinked. Confused, outfall security grid, what overrides? 7-9 Bravo Echo. She memorized, then scanned room radio smashed, but control panel lights green. She toggled manual override, closing floodgates behind her path to slow. Pursuers, hydraulics groaned. Water level dropped inches. She left technician with flashlight, marking door with chalk X ripped from panel. Help on way. Stay quiet. Drop if you've ever paused mid-chaos to bind someone else's wounds. The tunnel angled. Steeper. She jogged now, pain suppressed. Broken conduit sparked overhead. She ducked. Ahead, flicker of daylight where tunnel opened to filtration chamber. Voices echoed. Two men, arguing in clipped Russian, accented English. Callista crept to edge, peered. Circular vault 20 meters wide, ceiling grated to upper maintenance deck where flames glowed through gaps. In center, floodgate control console. On metal walkway, the boy sat, ankles bound, blanket gone but calm as ever. One soldier held tranq rifle on him. The other keyed codes into console. Numbers flashed. They were opening Seagate. Once water surge receded, a mini-sub could insert. Via old intake cove, she recalled blueprint. They planned exfil with drones and possibly the boy. She needed distraction. She scanned. Overhead fire suppression foam tanks. Manual release lever next to her, but range only over vault. Perfect, she exhaled. Yanked lever. Alarms wailed. White foam cascaded like avalanche, engulfing vault. Soldiers cursed, slipping. Callista vaulted railing, landing cat-like on great platform behind first soldier. She drove elbow to neck, ripping rifle away. Foam blinded them, but visor wipers cleared. Hers lacked wipers. She wiped with hand. Second. Soldier drew sidearm. She ducked, kicked knee sideways. Ligaments popping. Gun flew. She caught it. Ejected mag, slid weapon into drain. First soldier surged, combat knife flashing. She parried with rifle stock, bolts cracking. Twist, drop, foot sweep, he fell. She jammed rifle butt into temple. Motion ceased. Heart pounding, foam slushed around ankles. She cut boy's ties. His wrists mottled red, but he met her gaze calm. Knew you'd come. Hold that thought. She keyed console, reversed sequence, sealed Seagate, locked with technicians override. Red light steadied. Then she noticed countdown timer on secondary panel. 312 ticking. Explosive? The boy nodded. They said fail safe. If gate remained locked, charges destroy vault, flood tunnel, erase evidence, and them. She scanned soldier's vest, found detonator remote with arming switch. She flipped safety, timer froze. What could be booby trap failsafe? Best exit. Can you run? Boy flexed numb legs, nodded. She retrieved rifle sling, looped around his waist and hers dash tethered. They retraced tunnel upstream. Foam drained. Footsteps behind more hostiles. Flashlights slicing dark. She turned down maintenance branch leading to pump shafts, unsurveyed for years. Map memory-guided steps. Father taught topography like second language. They reached rusted ladder, climbing vertical 15 meters to inspection hatch at ground. Level hillside beyond compound. She boosted boy. He climbed agile despite cold. Halfway, metal groaned age and blast damage. Rungs ripped downward with screech. Boy dangled on remaining rung. Callista braced, locked rifle sling, absorbed weight. Move sideways to other rail, she instructed. He did. Ascend resumed. Below, lasers danced. Pursuers had thermal sights. Darts clanged off pipe near her head. She climbed one-handed, other accessing dart magazine pocket. Loaded into tranq rifle inverted. She fired blind downward, screams followed. She climbed faster, surface hatch sealed by corroded padlock. Boy. Pulled, no give. Callista reached, planted feet on rail. Used pry bar? None. She grabbed knot of sling, looped through lock, levered body weight outward. Metal snapped. Hatch open to morning sun, orange smoke pluming from compound. Alarms distant. They emerged onto grassy bluff overlooking Pacific. Winds brisk, seagulls wheeling. Freedom breeze. Callista closed hatch, wedging crowbar recovered from soldier across handles. They jogged up ridge, putting terrain between them. And exit. At crest, an abandoned observation bunker W2 relic squatted. She ushered boy inside. Concrete walls muffled wind. Graffiti scrawled. Safe for minute. She checked his wrists, rope burns. She applied antiseptic wipes from soldier kit, wrapped. You okay? He studied her, unsmiling. Yes. Voice soft but clear. Need your name, he shrugged. Never had, she frowned. Everyone has a name, he looked away. I was. Subject 7. Then janitors called me kid. No one asked until you. Her chest tightened. Then we'll choose one. What matters? They think you know something. They tested my memory. I remember diagrams, launch codes, drone. Firmware. They said my recall is perfect. But I didn't tell them. Callista absorbed that. A living database. She'd seen research on hyperthermesia training in orphans. The boy was stolen IP-made flesh. Why share blanket with me? He asked. She blinked back to title moment. Because nobody should freeze alone. He nodded slow, accepting. Asterisk drop. If you've ever felt someone see you for the first time. Asterisk. Through bunker's slit window. She saw a compound firefighting foam geyser over hangar, but secondary blazes burned. Emergency vehicles circled. Her reactor fix held. City safe. But intruder cells still active, likely sweeping perimeters. They'd track hatch soon. She needed extraction. Control tower radio jam dissipating maybe. Her wrist come dead. But old bunker might house copper landline to coastal guard posts. She lifted floor hatch. Yes, rusted field phone box. She spliced wires. Used knife to strip. Connected improvised handset. Dial tone faint. She called Coast Guard emergency channel. Delivered code Silver Atlas. Universal distress for compound compromise. Confirmed. ETA. Rescue choppers 30 minutes. But hostiles might intercept before. She scavenged bunker. Ammo. Crate empty, but flare gun present with 2 rounds. She pocketed. Also coil of climbing rope, faded but strong. Boy watched, silent curiosity. She handed him canteen. He drank. What do I call you? She asked again. He looked at Sun. Kai, he whispered. Means sea, I heard once. Kai it is. She smiled, on Callista. I know, he said, as if name carried gravity. An engine growl approached military at TV on Ridge Road. Not compound security pattern. She peeked. 2 hostiles with SMG scanning brush. She assessed options fast. They would search bunker in minutes. Fighter evade. With injured arm and child, direct assault risky. But cliff path behind bunker led to sea cave steep descent but possible with rope. She tied rope to rebar, anchored. Kai, you rappel first. Feet on wall, lean back. He obeyed like natural climber, descending 50 feet to rocky ledge. She followed, arms screaming but grip sure. Halfway, a TV halted, footsteps near bunker. Bullets punctured concrete overhead. Thud, thud. She sped descent. Loosed rope to fall behind rocks, sliding last meters. Twisted ankle but stood. Above, voices. Cursed. Sea cave mouth yawned, tidal pool inside. She guided Kai into shadowed cavity. Waves lapped iron-smelling stones. Inside cave, biolum algae painted faint teal specks. Tunnel branched. One end collapsed. Other led deeper. She followed twisting passage until it widened into grotto. Sunshafts pierced ceiling cracks, illuminating. Derelict wooden skiff half buried. Sailcloth rotted, but hull mostly intact. Kai touched boat. Can it float? Maybe until rescue. She scanned. Old fisherman stash of oars and tar patch resin. Coastal folks used caves historically. Chance of survival. She bailed water, patched seam, adrenaline fueling. Meanwhile, Kai recited compound server IP addresses he'd overheard eidetic. Indeed, she asked him to stop to avoid mental fatigue. Distant echoes, boots clanging on cave rocks. Pursuit swift. She loaded supplies into skiff, shoved toward water. Kai climbed in. She rode like Damans chased, which they did. Bullets sparked. Off cave wall behind. Water plumed. They reached seamouth, surf tossing. She gritted teeth, timed stroke with waves. Skiff shot beyond cave, into open bay. Morning sun blinding. Open water exposed, but gave distance. She rode for kelp beds that could conceal hull. Kai bailed with tin can. Ahead. Debris from downed helicopter bobbed. Pieces charred. She maneuvered. Near maybe intel. Among wreckage, a waterproof case floated. She snared with ore, hauled in. Inside, still dry tablet and encrypted drive terror cell data, maybe. Helicopter carcass also yielded inflated life raft. She tied skiff line to raft. Creating decoy mass, chopper blades thundered not far. Compound security or enemy. She glimpsed black-painted Hello hugging waves, scanning. She and Kai ducked low, kelp canopy hiding signatures. Hello passed. Under sun glare. Callista caught breath. Pain radiated left arm blister burst. She cleaned with saltwater hiss. Kai tore cloth from shirt, helped bandage. She smiled gratitude. She tapped tablet on. Boot sequence demanded biometric. She angled it toward dead soldier's severed fingertip she'd pocketed earlier for ID access. Grim, but pragmatic. The tablet. Unlocked, files listed, Operation Nobody. Dossiers, drone swarm control keys. Subject profiles, Kai among them. Callista's blood-chilled reading plans. Orphan Memory Augment Project. To be sold with hardware to warlord states. She scanned more. Upcoming extraction via freighter Shadowsong tonight. Coordinate grid. Hostiles presumably still committed. Despite setbacks. They might still recover drives, Kai, or kill both. She needed to deliver intel to authorities, but trust chain uncertain, compound leadership compromised. Captain Ortiz seemed clueless, but higher command? She decided, leaked to Coast Guard intelligence officer she trusted. Commander Reyes met during relief ops. She recorded voice summary on tablet. Attach data, set time transmit once in range. Of secure satellite uplink, they'd reach within hour offshore. Kai watched horizon. What happens now? We expose them, then we end them. Rowboat drifted with tide south toward Lighthouse Cape. She kept low profile. Gull cries overhead. Asterisk drop a C, if you've ever turned the tide with nothing but scraps and stubborn. Will, asterisk, afternoon sun climbed. They reached secluded cove below Lighthouse, unseen from main shipping lanes. She beached skiff, hid under camouflaging nets scavenged from raft. They hiked up Goat Trail to plateau where Lighthouse automated beacon. Hummed, solar panels lined path. Maintenance shed unlocked. Inside, radio array and old but functional long-range rifle used for wildlife tagging bolt action. Tranquilizer darts convertible to live rounds with included kit. Destiny smiled crookedly. She calibrated rifle, remembering father's whispered. Cadence, crosswind mild. Effective range 1200 meters. Good. Kai explored shed, found protein bars, handed to her first before eating. She ruffled his hair. Radio static cleared. She reached Reyes, transmitted data burst. Reyes responded, Coast Guard cutters en route, ETA 2 hours. Maintain covert, but before end, line cut with squeal. Jamming resumed. Enemy regained upper hand. Through binoculars, Callista spotted fast-moving RHIB boats departing Hidden Cove north. Black-clad soldiers scanning. They suspected Lighthouse vantage. She had maybe 20 minutes. She set rifle on tripod atop bluff ledge. Zeroed scope at cove entry 800 meters. She pre-programmed tranq darts with sedative. Lethal round as backup. She positioned Kai in Lighthouse. Base with radio, instructed Morse code flash to approaching cutter once visible. Taught basics brain, absorbed quickly. Footsteps below bluff enemy scout pairs approaching. She lined crosshairs, slowed heart. Inhale 4, hold 4. Squeeze, first dart flew, whisper kiss, scout collapsed. She cycled bolt, second target drop. But third group behind rock returned fire with suppressed autos. She ducked. Bullets ate. Ridge, she relocated rifle, fired lethal round at fuel drum in RHIB explosion tour boat. Shockwave scattering enemy. Gunfire lapsed. But she felt presence behind turning too late. Combatant tackled her. Rifle flew. She grappled, twisting wrist. Lock, but her wounded arm buckled. Knife flashed near throat. Sudden crack wooden oar smashed attacker's skull. Kai stood, eyes wide, holding oar like staff. Attacker dropped. Kai back to tower. She ordered. He hesitated but obeyed. She retrieved rifle, adrenaline spike. More boats inbound. Time running. Then her radio crackled new voice. Callista Rowan, this is Commander Riaz. Satellite pass complete. We have missile lock on freighter Shadow Song. Need confirmation of hostile cargo before launch, she cursed. Without proof, they risk civilian casualties if freighter legit. She had drive but not visuals. She must board freighter or get drone. Footage. Freighter anchored 5 nautical miles out. RHIB spares would depart soon. She could commandeer intact Ribi right now. Infiltrate with Kai's memory guiding infiltration codes. Madness, but possibilities narrowed. She glanced at Boy. He met eyes. We finish this, he said quietly. And Lighthouse shook with impact enemy. RPG struck base, stones raining. Structure leaned. Callista grabbed flare gun. Fired skyward signal for chaos or rescue. Light streaked. Lighthouse caught fire, solar panels shattering. Kai inside. Callista sprinted toward burning doorway smoke. Billowing, she saw Kai descending spiral stairs coughing. She reached, pulled him out as tower groaned. They tumbled onto grass as structure toppled seaward, crashing into surf with boom. Flames reflected in Boy's wide eyes. Enemy Arib engines revved approaching shore. Callista's path. Crystallized, steel boat, raced to Shadow Song, upload proof before. Missiles fly. She squeezed Kai's shoulder. This ends tonight. He nodded, gripping her burnt hand without flinch. Guns roared behind. They ran for shoreline, hearts pounding like war drums, and as bullets sprayed sand around them, Callista realized the only cover was the water itself. They dove beneath a breaking wave world exploded into roaring silence. Cliffhanger. They glittered like quicksilver pearls as Callista's momentum carried her deeper. The bullet churned surf collapsing overhead in a muffled roar that felt oddly gentle from below. For an instant she was weightless, suspended between sky and seabed, limbs spread in cold embrace. Kai's smaller silhouette punched through the froth beside her, arms graceful as if he'd been born swimming, blanket shreds fluttering behind like kelp. Salt scorched Callista's split lip. Sound muted to heartbeats and distant propeller. Growls made monstrous through water. She kicked downward, angling away from the white churn near shore where muzzle flashes strobed above the waves. Sand plumes blossomed where rounds plunged, momentum spent. She counted seconds, 1, 2, 3, and burst back to surface just long enough to draw a ragged lungful. The RHIB engines snarled closer. She saw silhouettes craning rifles over. Pontoons, scanning. Too late they'd seen the splash, but the ocean still favored the smallest shadows. Asterisk droppa. If you've ever gambled everything on a single breath. Asterisk. With one hand she grabbed Kai's elbow beneath the waterline. Signaling. Follow silent, steady. He squeezed twice, understood, and together. They finned parallel to shore inside the long shadow of an overhanging basalt shelf. Callista's arm burned from the rope, rash and the half-healed blister. But she compartmentalized pain, the way her mother once triaged near mortals, Categorize, prioritize. Let nothing bleed attention. When their lungs threatened mutiny, she guided Kai upward beneath the jagged edge. They surfaced under the stone's lip, just mouths clear of water, inhaling air infused with seaweed and gunpowder. The rib drifted 30 meters out, searchlight raking foam. One gunner leaned stiffly over bow, scanning as though he felt ghosts. His infrared scope would fail here. Foam and spray mask signatures. But he had patience. Callista whispered, voice. Nearly lost to lapping waves, slow kicks west, stay under shelf. Kai nodded, eyes out wide but fearless. They glided, torsos brushing rock ceiling, barnacles scraped calves. Sharp pain reminded her of skin alive, vulnerable, still present. 10 meters became 20. Another breath cycle. The Reeb's engine. Throttled, repositioning. A spotlight swept the shelf's edge, illuminating a single patch of green slick stone directly where Kai's discarded blanket fragment floated. The gunner barked in Russian. Rounds hammered the rock, cracking like thunder underwater. Shards rained. Callista felt vibration through bone. She signaled dive now and submerged again, dragging Kai deeper into twilight. The seabed sloped away. She gauged 5 meters depth, safe from ricochet. A new sound reached them, hoomp, whistle, flash, bang, grenades plunging. Not lethal underwater, but disorienting. She pivoted, shielding Kai with her body as the first charge detonated. The concussion thumped ribs, ear canal pressure popped. Bubbles erupted in violent bloom. Lungs screamed for air. They angled out, toward open water where sunlight sliced in silver ladders. Callista tasted copper, forced calm inhale slow through clenched teeth to equalize. Hold fury, exhale control. At last she broke surface beyond the shelf's far arm, Reeb now behind basalt barrier. She and Kai floated among drifting kelp blades. Horizon ahead offered only the freighter Shadow Song, a soot-gray monolith anchored exactly where the op. Tablet predicted. Kai's whisper ragged. We can't stay. No, she said, treading. We're taking their boat. She craned neck back. The RHIB still hugged shelf, search focused. She noted wave sets every 7 crests, a larger. Swell rolled from the deeper channel. Next one due soon, she judged timing. On the next big wave, we ride it in behind them. They'll be looking forward. Kai nodded though his lips blued. She rested palm on his back. Trust the water, it moves like breathing. Ready? Asterisk drop. A, if you've ever felt the ocean swallow your fears. Asterisk the swell rose. A smooth wall of rising glass. Callista angled body pulled Kai into its waist. Let buoyancy lift them unseen within the crest. As gravity tipped, the swell flung them forward like spears under the surface film. Spray concealed their forms as they shot down slope toward the RHIB's stern. The gunner still scanned forward, unmoved by the surge. Callista reached hull seconds later, silent, hooking calloused fingers over rubber sponson. She pressed Kai against inflatable collar. Wait till I board, she mouthed. Her shoulders screamed climbing the slick flank, but adrenaline iced pain. She rolled inside, landing behind the helm seat. 2 men aboard, pilot hunched over throttle. Gunner forward. Neither heard the soft thud under engine whine. She cat-stepped, seized survival knife from deck crate, and in one fluid motion plunged it through the pilot's headset muff into seatback seam weapon wedge, not flesh. She wanted quiet. She yanked throttle to idle, engine coughed. Pilot turned confused. Her fist met his throat, collapsing airway. He gagged silently. She grabbed his collar, smashed nose on console unconscious. Gunner started turning. Callista's hand found emergency bilge pump lever. She ripped it, flooding deck with sudden roar that masked her footfalls. She flung the pilot's limp body atop gun mount, lines tangling. Gunner spun to free weapon, but balance lost. She tackled behind knees. They fell. Floor water soaked trousers. She cranked the tranq rifle's own stock against his temple sleep. Breath. Heaving, Callista scanned lines. Boat seaworthy, comes intact. She whistled. Kai climbed aboard, eyes round with shock. "You okay?" she asked. He nodded, teeth chattering. She stripped dry jacket from pilot, wrapped buoy. She dragged bodies overboard by boot, waiting them to float but not drown. They might stand trial someday. People deserved justice, even if monsters wore uniforms. Then she reset throttle to half and pointed bow toward Shadowsong. Wind knifed faces as RHIB knifed waves. Sun neared zenith, harsh glare. Callista instructed Kai to monitor radar blip on console. Any inbound craft would appear. She tethered lanyard kill, switched to her belt. If bullets cut her down, engine would stall, and Kai could hide. Shadowsong. Expanded from Skyline Spec to looming Fortress, a 120-meter, heavy lift with decks stacked in modular containers. She saw launch crane extended, netting lowered, prepping for drone crates they'd expected from the compound. Plan still alive for enemy. They awaited cargo. A challenge hail crackled on VHF. Alpha 4, report status. Callista keyed mic, masking voice with static cough. Minor mechanical issue, inbound slow. She killed transmission. Kai raised eyebrow. She winked. They skirted starboard to stern platform. 2 deckhands in black fatigues manned hoist. Neither anticipated threat from their own craft. Callista cut throttle at last meter, coasting silent. She mouthed to Kai, "Hide behind." Console. He crouched. Bubbles. She vaulted rail, landing cap-like behind crates. One deckhand turned at thud. She flung a coil of mooring rope, loop snagging his rifle barrel. She yanked. Weapon clanged deck. He lunged. Her elbow drove solar plexus. He bent. She kneed. Chin dash out. Second, reached for alarm. She hurled wrench, striking wrist. He howl. Alarm missed. She closed distance, head but nose. Blood geysered. He collapsed. Kai joined, eyes wide but calm. "Fast," he whispered. She ruffled his damp hair, retrieving magnetic passes from pockets. Scan pad. Cargo door slid open into belly corridor, lit by hazard strobes. They slipped inside. Interior reeked of diesel and solvent. Echoing footsteps. Above crew at stations. Callista plotted route to bridge where shipboard server held manifest proof. Tablet's stolen drive could sync. Pull signatures linking project to clandestine Shell Corp. She needed broadcast clarity for Reyes's missiles. They crept along catwalks, avoiding CCTV arcs determined by cameras' patterns. Callista read environment like code. On level 3 corridor, she overheard voices through hatch. Technicians discussing secondary buyer arrival at 1500 hours and Subject 7 retrieval priority. Her stomach coiled. Kai. She signaled him to stay behind crate. She cracked. Hatch. Inside, small lab with gurney, medical equipment, and plastic-walled cell. Another child, maybe 9, slept sedated. Label on tag reads Subject 12. Rage flared. There were more. Callista slipped inside, injecting sedative reversal found in tray. Child stirred, eyes brown and confused. "I'm Callista," she murmured. "Silent for now, danger." Girl nodded grudgingly. From corridor came footfalls. Callista hid child behind supply cabinet, crouched herself. 2 medics entered, arguing. She struck quick 1 dart gun to neck, second throttle hold, till unconscious. She bound them with 4 tubing dots. She guided girl out to Kai. Kai's eyes softened at sight. He offered blanket wrap. Child clung to it. "Name?" Kai asked. "Rue," she whispered. Callista's brain raced. Rescue expanded scope. She peeked manifest. Binder stolen from medic list of 15 subjects. 9 loaded last night onto freighter, others inbound. She had to free all, but time ticked until external forces attacked. Asterisk droppa, if you've ever stood between a monster and its secret. Asterisk. She detoured to Cargo Hold 3, where containers labeled med supplies actually housed windowless mini-cells. Security keypad blocked door. She used tablet hack routine. Lock clicked. Inside, dim light revealed rows of transparent tubes, cryogenic pods sized for children, lids fogged, heart hammered. 4 occupied, vitals stable. Other 5 empty. They were the ones shipped earlier. Where? She activated manual wake cycles. Pods hissed. Kids inside aged 6-11 stirred, weak but alive. She encouraged them. Quiet, follow Kai. He led, protective. Power alarm blared, pod breach, triggered sensors. She heard boots, shouts. She tossed emergency lighting fuse, sparking blackout. Darkness her ally. She ushered group through maintenance shaft she glimpsed on blueprint. They crawled single file, emerging into service tunnel near lifeboat davits. She stowed children inside covered rescue craft. Sealed hatch handed Kai. Her flashlight. Stay silent. If I don't return within 20, launch and head to that lighthouse ruin. Guards will see flare. Kai's eyes flared fear. You promised come back. I will. She squeezed shoulder, left. Callista sprinted upward. Steel stairs toward bridge. Siren pulses echoed. Ship now on alert. She caught guard at stair landing. Disarmed with shoulder throw. Took SMG. She preferred tranq but lacked darts. Lethal necessary. She set weapon to burst. On bridge deck heavy. Door. She affixed breaching charge scavenged earlier. Shaped concussive. She pressed flat. X-hold 4. Detonated. Door crumpled inward. She rolled through smoke. Training muzzle. 3 officers. She shot leg of nearest. Launched baton at second. Cracking skull. Captain reached console to send distress. She fired burst at panel. Sparking overload. Captain froze. Hands up. She cuffed them with zip ties. She accessed nav computer, inserted tablet drive. Data mirrored to ship's satellite. Uplink. Jamming tried to block, but she rerouted through maritime IA's backup. Progress bar crawled. Outside windows. She saw dark silhouettes, wind helicopters approaching low enemy reinforcements. She keyed headset open channel. Commander Reyes, upload in progress, 65%. Hold missile strike. Static, then Reyes. Copy, but hostile. Air inbound my position 2. 10 minutes max. Callista glanced at radar. Choppers ETA 4 minutes. Bridgehead deck AA turret offline but may be salvageable. She darted to arm panel, toggled manual override. System wind alive. She swiveled turret targeting camera. Paint crosshairs on first heli. Breath steady. Father's marksmanship echoed. Trigger squeeze 30mm round streaked, shredding rotor. Helicopter spiraled, splashing. Second veered, launching rockets. She depressed fire. Tracers ripped fuselage. Explosion mid-air. But fragments rained onto deck, igniting fuel line. Fire alarms whooped. Bridge filled with smoke. Upload 92%. Floor tremored below deck. Sabotage charges maybe. She had to secure kids. She ejected drive, pocketed. Sent final burst. Evidence uploaded. Clear to engage target. Shadow song. Children aboard. Hold strike until evac confirmed. Reyes, understood. We need visual of lifeboat away. Callista bolted, dragging wounded officer as body shield downstairs past flames. Bulkheads buckled. Time limited. She reached lifeboat deck. Kai already had engine primed, children strapped. His face lit at her return. She unhooked David brakes. Boat lowered toward choppy sea. Overhead, recon drone buzzed Reyes's eyes. She flashed OK with arms. A dull boom rocked hull. Self-destruct charges starting. She cut last cable. Lifeboat. Splashed free, they motored clear. Kai steered while she tended wounded officer. They needed testimony. Shadow song behind belched smoke. Listing dot from horizon. Missile contrails streaked. Callista held breath. Impact flared against ship's midsection. Fireball mushrooming. Shockwave hit lifeboat, tossing. Children screamed. She calmed them. Ship. Split, bow sinking. Compound stolen secrets buried in burning steel. But a third contrail arced rogue missile. From unknown source closing on lifeboat. Callista's eyes widened. No countermeasures. She grabbed flare gun, loaded last round, fired straight into missile's path, a desperate beacon. The scene froze in sun glare. Red flare climbing. Missile screaming down, and that is where the world held its breath. Cliffhanger. The world should have ended in a white blossom of heat and shrapnel. Instead, it stuttered. Callista Rowan's flare traced a wavering crimson arc through the salt, bright sky, an improbable, fragile thread of light set against the roaring vector of the incoming missile. For the span of 3 heartbeats, that flare and that warhead shared the same heaven, converging like predators on a single kill. Then physics bent toward miracle. The missile's seeker, blinded by last-second code noise triggered by Callista's earlier upload, mistook the screaming magnesium beacon for its target. Thrusters corrected 30 centimeters too abruptly. Guidance fins tore in the turbulent wake. The warhead veered, cut a savage half-circle across the bow of the overloaded lifeboat, and detonated half a kilometer, downrange in a plume of foam and thunder that shook the afternoon sun itself. Spray hammered the little craft. The children shrieked, clutching straps. Kai's knuckles bleached white around the wheel. Callista's lungs refused to inhale until she counted to 4, the way her father had taught her when desert winds made the barrel writhe in her sight picture. Only then could she slowly release the breath she'd been holding since the instant her flare left the barrel. Asterisk drop up. If you've ever watched disaster skim past your skin by a margin too thin to measure, asterisk silence returned. Not the peace of safety, but the tentative hush that follows a predator's first missed strike. Overhead, the Recon drone banked, its sensor array glittering like a silver beehive in the sun. Reyes's voice cracked over wide band, ragged with relief. Visual confirms evac. Hold course 215. Cutter Resolute inbound. 20 minutes. 20 minutes could be a lifetime. Callista scanned the horizon. The freighter Shadow Song was now a split carcass bleeding smoke and twisted steel. Flames licked skyward as containers buckled and burst. Yet even as hull plates groaned and the ocean hissed upon molten seams, she spotted smaller forms darting away from the wreck, 2 rigid hull boats, carbon black, knifing foam eastward. Survivors, yes, but not victims. The enemy had planned for contingencies. Someone still intended to salvage the operation or to silence every witness. Each Reeb mounted twin heavy machine guns. The children's fragile orange lifeboat was no more than a paper lantern before a monsoon. Brace, she whispered, though there was no brace to be had. She knelt beside Kai, who stared over his shoulder at the pursuers, eyes cool despite their youth. Keep us angled to the tallest waves and watch for my signal. He nodded once. No questions. That unquestioning trust from a boy who'd never known family cut her deeper than any shrapnel. Callista crawled over life vests and knees to the aft locker. Old lifeboats carried minimal survival gear, thermal blankets, rations, chemical lights, but this one, property of the asterisk Shadow Song, bore extra contraband courtesy of its former owners, a Pelican case stamped with Cyrillic that suggested emergency weapons. She popped latches. Inside, 2 AK-74U carbines, 5 magazines sealed against salt, 1 shoulder-fired flare launcher modified for high-explosive micro-rockets, and a sat phone still linked to a private satellite network. The weapons were small comfort. Even with explosive rockets, she'd be lucky to disable one riot before the other shredded fiberglass and flesh alike. But she didn't need to prevail, only to survive until Reyes's cutter punched in like cavalry. She hefted the launcher, first lightweight composite, single-shot reloadable. She thumbed safeties, checked warhead type, EMPA microburst. No. Thermobaric? Too risky near children. Finally found two shaped charge anti-armor rounds. Good enough to perforate an engine block. She slung the launcher over shoulder, then tucked one AK into Kai's trembling hands. Single fire, only if they bored. He swallowed but accepted. She tore a life vest into strips, wedged them under his elbows to steady aim. The older children stared wide-eyed. Rue, the youngest, who'd told her name in a whisper, clamped eyes shut and began humming somewhere over the rainbow. Callista wished she could join her. The lifeboat's outboard sputtered. Salt water had swallowed its intake when the blast wave hit. Kai coaxed throttle until motor caught again, but it coughed oily smoke. They were making maybe 8 knots. The RHIBS closed at 25. Callista keyed Reyes, voice low. Seconds matter. Repeat, seconds matter. Static, then ETA 15. Hold, she eyed the sinking sun. 15 minutes felt like the tensile strength of a single human resolve, stretched to snapping. Asterisk the chase asterisk spray needled cheeks as the first. RHIB opened fire with warning bursts, brutal lines of water geysers. Stitched across aft wake. Children screamed again. Callista crouched behind the slender aluminum transom. Each .50 cal impact punched holes bigger than her fist through sea surface less than 5 meters astern. She raised launcher. Breathed 4 counts. Crosswinds moderate from southwest. Adjust angle. The rib jinked left and right in evasive weave. She looked past muzzle, past shaking hands, imagined her father's gloved fingers over hers on a training day, only memory contained. Asterisk trust the interval between swings. The pivot has a rhythm. Asterisk 3 oscillations. Fire. The rocket hissed, a lance of white smoke against the green. The shape charge bored into the RHIB's starboard sponson, just as the craft banked hard. Explosive jelly tore a ragged fan of rubber and composite. Water rushed in. The gunner tried a last strafing burst. His barrel dipped as bow buried. Seconds. Later, wave claimed the first predator. The second RHIB swerved wide, giving its dying twin a berth. Callista ducked under the launcher's backblast, reloading frantic. 2 rounds left. The enemy captain learned. He cut throttle to match lifeboat's pace, staying outside effective rocket range, and resumed firing in patient, surgically spaced lines. The lifeboat's transom splintered. One child's cry rose. Pitched shrapnel grazed leg. Blood bloomed bright on orange deck. Callista's breath faltered. She crawled forward, pressed bandage from medkit onto the 8-year-old's calf, tied fast. "Look at me," she whispered. The child did, tears mixing with spray. "Pain is proof you're alive. Hold on to it until we finish this." She turned again to war. Asterisk droppa. If you've ever fought knowing failure means more than your own ending. The turning current asterisk 50 meters off port. A reef line crested the hidden spine of basalt she'd glimpsed earlier on charts. Swells smashed against submerged rock, throwing spumes that could mask her rocket's initial trajectory. She ordered Kai, "Port 30, ride the reef break." He complied, eyes flicking between tell-tales. The lifeboat heeled, bow threatening. To dig. Children braced. The Rebe matched course, closing now on inside line. Callista felt the roll of surge. Each crest lifted them, each trough could tip them into jagged teeth. But the RHIB, longer and faster, would ride higher and expose its belly. She steadied launcher, waited until both crafts reached apex of next swell. White water exploded beneath. She fired. The rocket vanished into foam, then reappeared directly under the RHIB's midship, slamming hull dead, center. The explosion seemed small against the roar of surf. Yet the enemy craft leapt sideways like a speared marlin, engine screaming impotently. It capsized, throwing crew into churning reef. Callista gasped once, almost a sob, then through spent tube. Overboard. She leaned into Kai, both panting with adrenaline's aftershock, but victory tasted of salt and blood. Her shoulder wound reopened, red seeping under sleeve. Kai throttled away from reef, nursing injured engine. Callista hugged him quickly. Hold us steady, no more rockets. Dark arrival 10 minutes crept. The cutter still a far sliver on horizon, but closer. A black silhouette of yet another craft sculled out from the smoke veil of the freighter's corpse. This one larger. Armored cabin, radar mast. The enemy's command boat, a last queen on the board. Seriously? Callista muttered. They breed like roaches. She retrieved the sat phone. Battery low. She flicked through frequencies until intercepting encrypted channel chatter Russian. Accented officer ordering retrieval of asset at all costs. She spliced Riaz's channel with phone speaker, letting use frequencies overflow enemy net. Psychological warfare. Maybe it would sow doubt, but the command boat didn't slow dot behind. The sky darkened unnaturally. Callista looked up, thunderheads gathering from nowhere. Weather had foretold clear skies, but the Pacific seldom obeyed predictions. She felt static on skin. A squall was birthing. Storm inbound, she announced. Kai met her eyes recognizing. Peril but also chance. She searched the Pelican case for anything left. 1 AK, 4 mags, a spool of climbing line. A small cube of Semtex with timed clacker. The enemy's contingency, ironically her salvation. She considered options. It would take a miracle or cunning to deter the command craft until Resolute arrived, or she could sacrifice herself to ensure Kid's safety. No, Kai needed her. But risk had to be hers alone. She devised plan in 3 breaths. Kai knew orders. She described swift. He argued none, only whispered, "Come back." She kissed his hair. "Count on it." She removed life vest, strapped Semtex to fuel tank at stern, set timer 5 minutes. She looped climbing rope through aft cleat, tied bowline around waist. Then she swung over gunwale into the sea, cold, shocked lungs. She kicked beneath hull, trailing rope like umbilical. Lifeboat continued sluggish forward. Beneath waves, water muted terror. Currents felt like memory of wound. She surfaced aft, keeping low profile. Command craft closed now within 100 meters. Cutter still shapes in distance. She swam sideways, hauling rope until slack gone. Now she functioned as human sea anchor, swinging lifeboat in slow pivot starboard, exposing broadside fuel tank to Kakenta. Enemy's line of fire and a Semtex charge. She prayed Kai understood throttle nuance. Enemy craft fired burst, tracers ripping past. Lifeboat tank sparked, but charge still ticking. She watched LED. 2 minutes. She let go rope, diving deep. Did quick momentum kicks until reaching underside of enemy craft larger hull, cavitating props overhead. She placed palm on metal, feeling. Vibrations, life and hostility. When she surfaced again, lifeboat had curved away, Kid's eyes huge over gunwale. Kai saw her. Relief flickered. Command boat overshot. Now between her and lifeboat. She tread water, facing enemy cabin. Leader stood. At bow, rifle leveled but pausing, perhaps stunned by lone woman afloat. She spat salt water, yelled, "You've lost. Stand down." He replied with muzzle flare. A dart of heat grazed shoulder. Pain screamed. She dove. Bullet missed head by breath. Underwater silence replaced. Semtex timer nearing 0. She swam furious back to rope, climbing. Kai reached hand. Hauling her as she gasped onto deck, she shoved him forward. Full throttle dead ahead, he punched engine. The old outboard shrieked protest but obeyed, lifeboat surging. Command craft reversed thrust to chase. 4.3.2. The world erupted white behind them. Semtex plus 50 liters of gasoline produced a fireball that dwarfed sunset. Shockwave punched lifeboat like giant's palm, sending it ballistic over. Crest, children wailed. Callista wrapped arms around Kai, bracing as they slammed back onto water. Command craft lost bow in explosion, hull aflame. It drifted crippled. Callista's vision blurred, but horizon revealed use flag, Resolute racing in, bow churning. Helicopter launched from its deck, diving toward them. They were safe. Maybe drop a, if you've ever felt victory taste like. Iron and rain. Aftermath tide Stormfoot arrived with sudden fury. Rain sheeted, hissing on hot metal of shattered freighter. The lifeboat wallowed, engine finally dying. Cutter crew winched helicopter basket. Children lifted one by one into safety. Callista insisted Kai last. He refused until Rue ascended. Finally, basket returned for them. Callista's legs buckled, adrenaline spent, wounds angry. Kai and she locked arms as basket rose. For first time since collapse tower, she let weight rest on someone else's line. Deck of the Resolute floodlights painted everything in harsh brilliance. Medics swarmed the children. Callista perched on cot, blood pressure cuff throbbing. Unburnt arm. Commander Reyes, rain slick plastered to cap, approached. "You did beyond impossible," he said. She shrugged. "I was underestimated." He produced data chip. "Your upload. Enough to bring down 3 shell companies. But there's more. Someone high inside Directorate green-lit this. Political storm coming." Callista's jaw tightened. "Find them." Rain hammered deck hard. Thunder masked approach of Kai until he slipped hand into hers. "Told you you'd come back." She squeezed. Promise kept. Sirens of far Coast Guard, Navy, news drones arriving. Yet unease crawled. Callista scanned horizon. The storm still building, lightning webbing. Something unfinished lingered. Reyes spoke. "We picked up faint locator pulses, 3 containers. Jettison before strike. Likely still carrying children. Search planes sweeping, but conditions worsening." Callista swung legs off cot, ignoring medic protest. "Route me to flight deck." "You're half dead. Kids are fully alive and alone." Reyes relented. "Chopper's yours, but you'll need co-pilot." Kai stepped forward, tugging Reyes's sleeve. "I can navigate. I remember the drift equations they made me recite." Callista smiled grimly. "Then we fly." Flight. Into lightning. Rotors flogged air thick with ozone as MH-65 lifted. Callista, in pilot seat, left arm stiff within burn sling, but functional. Kai strapped beside, reading radar like seasoned officer. Lightning strobed sea, revealing container bobbing half-submerged 5 miles west. Kai pointed. "That one." She banked. Winds mauled rotor disc, turbulence violent. She fought cyclic. Teeth grit. Lightning strike slammed tail boom, but ground straps bled charge. They hovered over container, waves smashing steel walls. No hatch. She would need to rappel. Wind howled banshee. Kai's hand found hers. "You showed me courage." "My turn." Before she could protest, he clipped harness, swung out onto hoist cable, an age too big for him. Kai. But he descended like spider, landing on container lid. He knelt, pried inspection plate, using multi-tool Callista lent earlier. Waves crashed, nearly sweeping him. Callista's heart seized. He tied hoist hook to locking bar, signaled up. She winched. Plate tore free, exposing cryopod interior. Callista swung cable to drop herself. She joined him, peered in. 2 pods alive. Automatic beacon now free, flashing. "Good." She radioed Resolute. They vectored second HELO. Lightning cracked vertical spears. One slamming ocean 100 meters away, shocking surface to white steam. Static charged hair, container pitched. Kai slipped toward edge. Callista grabbed his wrist, but her boots slid. Together they careened. Edge came fast. Sea swallowed container lip, next wave looming huge. They dangled on side rail as metal groaned. Helicopter bucked overhead, hoist cable snapping free, whipping into void. Callista locked eyes with Kai. Below, whirlpool of black water waited. Her grip faltered. Lightning claimed sky again, as if camera flash on their impending plunge. And the chapter breaks. Cliffhanger. Cold black water swallowed Callista, Rowan, and Kai in the same breath, a churning maw that cared nothing for vows or victories. Salt stabbed eyes and lungs, thunder cracked overhead, and the container that had been their only footing vanished as a towering wave rolled it belly up. In that instant, sensation fractured into brutal fragments, the numbing bite of ocean, the taste of iron mingled with brine, and the desperate certainty that letting go of Kai's wrist would mean losing him to the deep. She fought instinct, screamed to inhale. Vision blurred, she squeezed his smaller hand until their bones ground. Kick upward toward the wound of daylight flickering through storm foam. Her shoulder burned. Every motion tore fresh streaks of fire beneath the skin grafts, but pain anchored her to the living. They broke the surface together, gasping, coughing, eyes stinging the driving rain. The crippled container pitched beside them. A lightning fork seared the sky, illuminating the busted helicopter cable tangled around it. Callista's training snapped back. Use what you have. She looped the free strand under Kai's arms, creating a makeshift flotation harness, then hooked her forearm too. The cable kept them tethered to the bobbing steel, even as waves hammered. 50 meters off, the rescue helicopter reoriented despite gale winds. Overcome static, the crew chief's alarm shout flared. We've lost visual. Holding hover. But can't drop line in this turbulence. Callista thumbed her mic, voice ragged. Hold position. We'll drift lee ward of container when shadow buys you a window. She doubted they had minutes, let alone a window. The crew's second bird still circled the disabled command craft, plucking survivors for interrogation. Mission triage left only Callista and Kai to save the last two cryopods still sealed inside the overturned container. A rogue wave smacked them, ripping her grip for a heartbeat. She relatched cable, hauled Kai close. We need the pods, he choked between crashes. She knew those children were alive but drowning inside pressurized coffins. The container's roof now underwater housed the manual release. They would have to dive beneath a capsized steel box in a lightning storm, a maneuver reserved for suicidal divers or desperate mothers. Callista was both. She braced Kai on the high side, tying a secondary loop around a bracing rib. Count to 30. If I'm not back, clip your harness to the Hello's line the moment it drops. He shook, rain running rivers down his face. I'll pull you out, thunder boomed. She touched his cheek, forehead to forehead. Trust the plan. Then she inhaled, rolled beneath the roiling surface. Below, the world narrowed to cold green gloom and the hollow drum of blood in her ears. She found the container's submerged door by touch. Hinge bolts protruded like broken teeth. She ripped a multi-tool from belt, jammed flat tip behind latch. Muscles screamed. Metal groaned but refused. 20 seconds. She repositioned, planting both boots on hull rib, used every kilogram of will. Latch popped. A plume of trapped air burst upward. The container exhaled desperation. Inside, darkness. Her flashlight flickered. Once then died, circuitry drowned. She felt along walls until fingers met plexiglass curve of the first pod. A panel under rim-round, recessed wheel. She cranked. At half-turn, mechanism unlocked and the pod began to float free, buoyancy. Fighting. She guided it toward door, wedging against jam. Breath ragged, lungs burning. Second pod deeper. She swam, dizziness blooming. Found it. Repeat crank wheel jammed halfway. She groped, found cable strap, hooked to pod's anchor eye, then to her belt. She kicked outward, dragging weight. Vision tunneled. When her head finally broke surface, she retched rainwater and air in equal parts. Kai shouted her name, face pale with terror and awe. They wrestled pods onto containers upturned. Sighed. Each pod's vitals flickered amber oxygen low but stable. Above, the Hello reapproached, pilot riding gusts like a bronc. Line dropped a miracle of timing. Kai clipped first pod. Winch groaned skyward. Second line descended. Callista hit. Release, then looked up to hail crew and saw a figure on the ruined command craft raising a shoulder-fired missile. Silhouetted by lightning, the crew chief yelled warning. The Hello veered, but the launcher belched flame. Streak of death arced. Callista's reflex screamed. She leapt across container roof, yanked flare pistol from pocket dry charge, guarded for emergencies. She fired point blank at the missiles. Seeker, white fire met red tracer. The missile's brain spasmed. Vector skewed. It clipped rotor blade tip, exploded in a searing bloom that hurled fragments across the sea. The Hello canted, rotor shedding shards, yet pilot's skill kept it hovering long enough to deposit the cable. Crew chief screamed for final extraction. Callista snapped second pod's harness, slapped cable. Go! Pod lifted. Hello limped away toward Resolute, smoke trailing. Kai gestured frantic. Our turn, but line wouldn't return. The crippled bird couldn't risk weight. They were alone again, container sinking fast. Nil options. She scanned wreckage, lifeboat wreck splinters, the disabled ribs slowly burning, raining sparks. Smoke mixed with rain created sulfuric fog. Within that chaos, she spied the intact skiff Callista had abandoned earlier, now drifting. Free on broken mooring line. Somehow, hope. She untied Kai. We swim. Secure skiff, reach cutter beacon. Another lightning fork spidered water. They dived off container just as it folded into itself, swallowed by dark. Storm rage blurred chronology. They paddled half-submerged until fingertips found the skiffs. Gunnel. Kai hauled first. Callista followed, arms trembling. She cut the tow line with serrated blade, unfurled emergency sail from locker wind caught, propelling them toward strobing rescue beacons in distance. Nearly an hour crawled by, though time had lost shape. When the Resolute loomed like a mountain of steel, Callista finally allowed exhaustion to claim her. Crew hoisted them aboard. Med teams swarmed. She heard children's voices, Rue calling her name, before darkness draped over her like a warm, merciful shroud. Callista awoke in infirmary days later, so doctors told her. She only knew the light seemed kinder. Skin. Grafts dressed, shoulder immobilized, IV drip singing slow metronome. Kai sat bedside, reading manual on marine navigation. He looked up, smile small but fierce. He handed her tablet. On screen, world headlines. Black market child soldier scheme foiled. Whistleblower Callista Rowan testifies. Evidence she'd captured had ignited international scandal. Arrests spanned 3 continents, but one thumbnail chilled. Blood. Director Adrian Hawley remains at large. She closed eyes. Storm not finished. A knock. Commander Reyes entered, suit crisp. The Global Task Force requests your expertise to locate Hawley. But before that, Senate Intelligence wants your account in person. Tomorrow. Callista exhaled. I'll be there. Kai's grip tightened on her fingers. In his palm rested the blank ID chip she'd given during the first collapse. Think it's time I chose more than a first name, he said. Her throat clenched. I'd be honored. Capitol hearing, Washington, D.C. rows of media lights and marble columns. Callista. In tailored sling, Kai seated behind with Rue and rescued children. Senators questioned, cameras devoured every tremor. She recounted, voice steady. The abuses hidden within disaster relief budgets. Orphan memory farms. Drone-delivered insurgency kits. The atrocity marketplace. Hale's part still shadow. Subpoenas out, but his trail cold, mid-hearing recess. Callista retreated to hallway lined with portraits. She studied faces of forgotten patriots. Footsteps approached tall figure in custodial uniform pushing cart. Too tall, posture military. Gut instinct flared. She watched his reflection in glass. His hand beneath rags clutched something metallic. She pivoted, interposing sling arm. Pain flared, yet stance square. Lose the weapon, the man smiled thin. Beard fake, eyes predatory. Director sends regrets. He lunged, silenced pistol. Emerging, Callista used arm cast as club, deflecting barrel. Shot poofed into carpet. She swept his leg, rolled. Pistol skittered. He pulled stiletto. She blocked with cast, head butted. Bone met cartilage, his nose broke. She disarmed, pinned throat with forearm. Where's Holly? She hissed. Assassin laughed blood. Closer than you think. She tightened, he blacked out. Security swarmed. Back in chamber, Callista testified. Extra details, yet mind flashed to assassin's words. Holly inside building. She scanned balconies. Camera drones buzzed. One drone collar bore false network logo, its lens larger than spec. Realization punched. Weaponized micro-drone. She vaulted witness table, grabbing Senate chairperson, tackling to floor as drone nose lit red. Shot of needle dart zipped, embedding desk where senator's skull had been. Room erupted. Capitol Police shot drone down. Chaos validated her claim. Conspiracy love. Outside, rain began again, tapping dome like impatient fingers. And her fingers slipped. Safe house, midnight. Callista couldn't sleep. She stood at window of secure apartment overlooking Potomac, sling off, testing arm rotation. Pain flared but range improved. Kai patted in wearing oversized sweatshirt. Nightmare, Daymar. She half smiled. He joined at window. What happens to us? We finish what we started. He thought, then said, Rowan, my last name if you're okay. Tears blurred city lights. More than okay. Kai Rowan. They fist bumped. On table lay folder Reyes delivered. Hale's last known coordinates: private island in Adriatic. Fortress disguised as maritime research lab. Task force raids planned on 2 weeks hence, but intel thin. They requested Callista's infill plan. She opened laptop, fingers flying. Kai watched, absorbing. This story took us a long time. If you like it, subscribe. Now back to the story. Adriatic coast, 14 days later. Night sea shimmered black-silver under crescent. Moon. 2 shadows breached surf. Callista mobility regained, and Kai, lithe in neoprene. They infiltrated alone ahead of strike team. Their objective: disable jamming array, rescue final group of subjects rumored held for auction. Island cliff loomed. Callista embedded ascenders, climbed knife-edged limestone. Kai followed agile, muscle memory from compound wall drills she'd taught during recovery weeks. Atop cliff, labs sprawled like a nest of white spiders. Patrols light yet lethal. They navigated drainage culverts, bypassing thermal sensors using mirror foil blankets. Callista's heart drummed calm code. Inhale 4. Hold 4. Exhale 4. They reached server annex. Kai hacked door panel skills taught using boredom and brilliance. Inside, rows of drives hummed sinister lullaby. He plugged decrypt dongle. Files poured. Names of buyers, bank routes, coordinates of another orphan facility still active in Siberia. Callista's gut clenched, but footsteps neared. Guards in tack armor. They hid behind racks. Kai clutched stun baton. When guard passed, Callista applied chokehold, silent takedown. Kai zapped second. Alarm UN SPRUNG. They planted charges on jamming tower power bus, set remote fuse. Extraction path toward Cliff Jetty where task force subs awaited. Yet as they slipped, a long corridor of frosted glass, a slow clap echoed. Adrian Hawley stood ahead, impeccable suit gleaming. His grin wolfish. "Miss Rowan, bringing your protege." "How poetic," he raised palm. Auto turrets hinged from ceiling. Callista shoved Kai behind bulkhead, dove opposite. Surge of bullets shredded glass, sparks flying. She fired pistol, hitting. Hydraulics of left turret, it sagged. Right turret spun at Kai. He hurled EMP puck device. Callista built nightly magnetic clamp to barrel. Pulse fried circuits. Metal sagged silent. Hawley back down hallway, keycarding elevator, doors slid. Callista sprinted, but shutters slammed between. Elevator descended, she cursed, triggered charges, comms cleared. Strike team stormed compound. She and Kai hustled to subterranean pens, freeing 6 children. Loading onto gurney sleds. Through earpiece. Reyes confirmed Hawley cornered in dock bunker. Callista's blood sang. She arrived minutes later to see Hawley boarding mini-sub. Guards exchanged fire with SEALs. Callista lunged across catwalk, leaping onto sub-hull as hatch closed. She jammed knife to wedge seam, ripping open. Inside, Hawley drew pistol. She ducked, round-clipping hatch. She tackled, grappling in narrow cylinder. Sub-thrusters engaged, vessel sliding down rail into sea. Water gushed through open hatch. Sub lurched, pitching. Callista braced neon console. Slammed Hale's gun hand to wall. Bone cracked. He roared, swung elbow. She head butted, dizzy flash. Sub plunged, water filling. She seized cuff on his wrist, clipping to seatbelt anchor. End of line. She kicked free, climbing rail. As emergency brakes screeched, hatch above, water rising. She hauled out seconds before sub detached. Sinking with Hawley screaming curses swallowed by dark. She collapsed on catwalk, coughing seawater. Kai skidded, helping her stand. Sirens ceased. Compound secure. Dawn sun rose peach gold over Adriatic, painting rescue ships and freed children in hopeful light. Callista wrapped blanket around shoulders, gaze drifting to horizon where seagulls wheeled. Reyes approached. Not often justice delivers so neatly. She nodded, though mind lingered. On Siberian site. Work never done. He offered small box. Inside, silver badge disaster response tactical director. We want you heading new unit, the Nobody Corps. People underestimated, now weaponized for good. She looked to Kai, who grinned. Sounds exactly right. She pinned badge. To jacket, epilogue wind months later, at rebuilt Pacific compound. Callista watched recruits men, women, youths from shelters, learn precision under rain of simulation rounds. Kai Rowan, age 14, coached UAV pilots, memory recall guiding complex formations. Rue painted tail numbers in bright colors. Callista's father's metronome ticked in her pulse, her mother's sutures in her teaching. She was still asterisk nobody's. Girl, asterisk but also everybody's guardian. On horizon, thunderheads hinted new storms. She smiled ready. 2 more great stories are next. Don't miss them. Subscribe and turn on notifications.